And it shows that we are live. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday.
Hello.
Tonight, Allison can't be with us. She's got stuff going on, and she'll see us again, be back next week. Tonight, I said, hey, Tom, what you up to? Not much. Want to come on? Sure. So we got Tom again here from Early Ritual, hanging out with me tonight. So thanks for joining me, Tom. It's always
Yeah,
fun because we never know
it's
what we're
always a
going
good
to talk
conversation.
about. Yeah, we go from demonology to Depeche Mode to hey, look at our cats, aren't they cute?
Exactly.
you just
Anything.
you just never know what what we're going to start talking about. Um, and some of you were in my chat earlier when I was doing the live art session with Jonathan. So thank you for being there. Thank you for being here too. We
Yeah.
have Fatima is here. Hello, my dear. And
Hey, Fatima.
flowing, Miss Carmela is here. Um, hey, no, Amanda. Oh, this is a different Amanda because I have a friend named Amanda, and I keep remembering, is that my Amanda or is that a subscribe? Well, I mean, Amanda, my friend Amanda's a subscriber, obviously, but I think Amanda puts her last name on there. So hello, Amanda. Hello, Earl. Good to see you. Hello, Jeff. Oh my goodness, look at
Hey,
everybody
Jeff.
popping in. There's Ginger, and then there's Ramon. Ramon, were your ears ringing a little while ago? We were talking about you. Because Tom and I were talking about paranormal stuff, and I was mentioning that you and Ginger had just done not long ago a reading on your house in Philly. So yeah,
Yeah,
when we get together, we end up talking about paranormal.
it
We talk
always comes up.
about music. Um, I've got my new Hush Tarot deck with me. In case we wanted to share. Tom got a new book that he had posted on Instagram that looks interesting.
Yeah.
So as of any Friday, and Tom and I'll figure maybe later on, closer to the end of the hour or whatever, when we're wrapping up, we might do a collective. Well, let's say we will do a collective, and if
Yeah.
anyone's interested, maybe some mini reads depending on how far along we get. Because I know we love the readings, but oh, I love the conversations too. We got
Exactly.
Kaylee here. Hello, Kaylee. And Isadora, hello, my dear. Good to see you. Heather, we were talking about healing crystals the other night on Live Ramon with, okay, yes, because Amanda, there are, I think, three other Amandas in that pop up in our chats, besides you and my friend Amanda White. So, um, I remember talking about crystals. So, yes, that was you. Thank you. Sometimes it's so hard to keep track of everybody. Some chats, 20, 30 people at a time. And a lot of times it's, a lot of the people we recognize, but every now and then everyone is frozen. I'm not frozen.
I'm seeing it. Let me check YouTube really quick.
No, does anybody else see? It might be your connection, Isadora. Um,
It's coming through fine on
yeah.
YouTube. Then I'm checking.
Okay. Viviani. Hello, Viviani. And Karen. Karen's back. Karen, you're
Hey,
back for
Karen.
more. Glutton for punishment. Nah, just kidding. So, yeah, always nice to see all the familiar faces popping in. This is what
Yep.
makes it so wonderful. And
It's a good community.
tomorrow, Karen is going to be joining me for a new segment on my channel called "Hey, What's Your Sign?" And we're going to start exploring every month before the signs change that zodiac sign that's coming up for that month. So we're coming into Gemini, and we're going to be discussing. And Karen's learning astrology, and that would be, where is she? This young lady right here. She is learning astrology, and she does some videos also with Jackie's Crystal Moon, where she shares astrology that she's learning. So make sure to check that out too. But for me, I told Karen I need really baby steps because astrology is so, I
Yeah.
think the tarot is multi layered. The astrology for me, oh my goodness, it's just, for me, astrology is like going to school for, having to take a sculpting class. For me, for some
Yeah.
reason, my brain has a hard, I don't know if it's because of the, with astrology, because you're trying to picture things moving this way in 3D. and trying to figure out how things work. And that might be part of it. I don't know. But for me, I need astrology in tiny little increments. So I figured the best way to start are signs.
Yeah, I it's one of those things that I've never really learned. I'm terrible. Like I hear all these people like, "Oh, that's such a Libra thing," and I'm like, I have no idea what that
I
means.
have no idea.
Like, yeah, or yeah,
Hi, Nancy.
I know that I'm a
Girls.
Scorpio. That's all I know.
Oh, my daddy was a Scorpio.
All the best people
October
are.
26th.
26th? No, I'm 27th.
Oh, wow. I knew there was a reason I liked you. There you go. Aside from the Depeche Mode. Wow. Although you almost lost me as a friend when you said you could do without Dave Gahan. Now, come on. You got to have the voice to go with it. It's like...
weakest part of the band.
It's like, oh... blasphemy. That's it. Tom is no longer welcome.
All right, that's it. Bye.
Have a good night, everyone. But it's like, you can't have, it's like pork and beans. You can't have,
No, they make a good turn. They make a good team. Although,
and when Martin I hear his voice,
is very good. So.
And certain songs, he has a way of using his voice in certain songs that just, for me, takes me to certain places. Not all songs, but there are some where it's just like I close my eyes, I sit in the dark, and I'm like, In Your Room is one of them. Freedom State. I was really sick when I was just starting getting back into Depeche, and I said, "Oh, Ultra, I'm going to pick this up." It was like $7.99 at Barnes and Noble or whatever. And I had started listening to that, and then I had gotten sick. My medications had stopped working, and I was in a really bad place for a while. I had insomnia and stuff and whatnot. And one of the things that got me through that was listening to Depeche Mode. And that song was one of them that I would just, when I could not sleep and I was laying in the dark and you couldn't get away from your thoughts or your feelings and all the stuff that was going on, that music, that song, one of those songs just really, what got me through. So when people talk about music, you hear a song and you're immediately, it's almost like, for me, it's visceral. It's like I can almost smell, I can feel, I can remember. I mean, it's just like all my senses, memories come back.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's music has that ability. It's amazing.
Oh boy, Chad is jumping.
Yeah.
Yes. Happy birthday, Nancy. Happy birthday to you. Shannon and I did a little surprise for Nancy. I can say it now because she said she saw it. We did a little. Shan's a guitar player, so we sat next to each other. Shan strummed and on his guitar, "Happy Birthday," and we sang for Nancy. So,
oh, nice.
Our little gift for Nancy, for being such a sweetheart, and being there for us. And everyone's saying hello, Rob Bell. Good to see you. Yes, we're going to make it fun. And I would also like to bring in a couple of tarot cards because it's interesting. It's too bad Allison's not here because I'll watch some of her recorded videos when she's doing her readings for certain signs, and she'll bring up certain cards and she'll say, well, I know this card, they say represents this sign. I really don't feel that. But she goes, this is what, this could potentially be. And that's one of the things that with the astrology and going sign by sign, we can look at how people see the signs differently in the cards. Take a look at, what did maybe grab one out for RWS and then a couple like an indie deck or something and kind of see where people are looking at, certain signs, cards, for the certain signs. So not getting too complicated, but just kind of starting to explore a little bit in the realm, because I've noticed some decks like the Star Tarot that I have, they will put down if there is a astrological reference to it. They'll put that down in there. So
Yeah, I'm gonna be joining a thought study soon that Dustin at Modern Metaphysica is doing as part of his YouTube community, and I'm excited to revisit it because like I started on Thoth, and Thoth there's a lot of associations
Mm-hmm.
with planetary associations and astrological, and many other associations as well. So I'm curious to revisit because I really have not worked with Thoth in a long time, and
Oh, really?
yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting to reacquaint myself. I'll say reacquaint myself with it because I ignored RWS for the longest time. I just was not interested in the Rider Waite system at all. And then when I kind of got back into tarot, I like went all in on RWS and TDM too, Tarot de Marseille. But
See, I could never get into the tarot. Now that's the ones with the pips, right?
yeah, it's very pip heavy,
I'm
which
learning a little bit. I kind of like some of that. You know,
I
not
like. I
having the face on
like.
every card.
Yeah, I like the. There's room to interpret. I feel with Marseille that RWS doesn't necessarily give you at times with some of the cards, but um, as an overgeneralization. But but I like Marseille, but I'm very interested to go back to Thoth because I
I've heard
really
people
didn't touch it.
pronounce it Toth. I've heard of people pronounce it
It's yeah,
Thoth.
yeah. I always said Thoth, but I don't.
I don't know. That's why I was like, when you said Thoth, I'm like, oh, that must be the way to say it because I know that you're very studious. You go really in and you study. You don't necessarily practice everything that you're
Yeah,
interested, but you're very philosophical. You really, I don't know. Is it theos? Is it can still be considered theosophical if you're looking into
yeah,
teachings like Mason and Thoth and RWS and things? Is that
yeah,
still
yeah.
considered theosophical or
I would think it's. I
theological?
think it is. Yeah, I would
There's so
consider
many
that.
words.
Yeah,
There's so many labels for everything.
exactly.
You kind of get lost in the So okay, so you're
Yeah, I mean,
responding to Karen.
the
Okay.
way I've always kind of like differentiated it, and this could be 100% wrong, so don't take me as any expert in any way, shape, or form. But to me, Thoth was always the cards, the deck, and Thoth was more if I'm talking about like the deity. But I don't know.
And Karen says I did the same time minus the Marseille. It's pretty just like my pictures. So, but I know there's a deck that I really want to get. Sahadna, Integrative Healing, was going through them, and they're absolutely gorgeous. I have to save up for it, but they are the Tildewick, if I
Oh
pronounce it
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
properly.
have that deck. Yeah,
Those cards are so not
that's a
typical,
hard one for me to read with.
but the artwork I can get so behind. I mean, for me, it's just just it would just be a beautiful. I mean, at some point, I know that I would be able to use it for something, but I can just appreciate the subtleties and the way she talks too
Yeah,
about the cards. She really breaks down, makes you look at cards in a way that you may not necessarily.
yeah.
Um,
I haven't been on her channel in a while, but like
no, I
I
haven't
used to
either.
watch a lot of her videos. Yeah, I always enjoyed them.
And Karen says there's lots of astrology in Thoth. So yeah, the
Yeah.
Star Tarot mentions, it's a part of the Thoth system, I believe. Oh my goodness, it's jumping. Hello, Miss Tarot D. I love the
Well,
majors
Miss
and it's the
Tarody, you're going to be
bliss, but not
disappointed.
the pips. Uh oh, what was that?
You'll see.
Okay, I missed something there. I love the
You'll
majors.
get there eventually. Miss Tarody's already
Oh,
being
she's
naughty.
saying some more. Hello, Moira. Yes, so Heather, just kind of be quiet. Miss Tarot D, hello. TGIF, yes, thank God it's Friday. I
Yes.
see I'm not the only one playing leapfrog between channels. Oh, okay. Lots of more shows now on in the evenings.
Yeah,
So I must say, okay, this must be it.
that's the one.
If Early doesn't striptease. See, now she doesn't have Cosmic Orphan here to pick on anymore, so she's got to find the next one. So
Exactly.
she's got her eyes set on you, baby. Oh, Miss Terrell Dean. We love you, my dear. Like they say in that song, you make love and fun. Fleetwood Mac. You make love and fun. You make chat fun.
You make tarot
Uh,
chat fun.
yeah, tarot chat fun. Yes, Amanda loved oracle cards. Yeah, there is what's the word? Some people say, well, tarot's better, oracle is better, Lenormand's better, but they all have their specialty. They
I mean,
all
what?
have their own unique,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, I've never. I have like 3 or 4 Lenormand decks, but I've never actually learned how to read with it. Um, one day, eventually. Would I recommend that everybody, to some extent, like tries to learn Marseille a little bit, because I feel like the approach to reading is interesting, that in that it forces you to look a little bit differently at the majors, especially. Um, you start focusing more on like directionality in the cards, color usage, things like that. That I found, for myself at least, that I didn't necessarily do with RWS until I started studying Marseille a bit, because it's just the way that a lot of books and people talk about it, and it was really interesting. Made me look at things very, very differently with the way that the cards interact and the directionality that's in like the court cards and stuff, especially.
Now, when you say directionality, does it mean that you lay them out a certain way, like you have to,
No,
or
the
I
way
was
that
just
they're
wondering.
facing, like, so if
Okay,
they're like if the characters are facing each other and
got you. So this is
interacting
something
with
that's a
each other
part
in
of it.
that way.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, the spread and the layout is to some extent like important, but it's really just the way that the cards interact with each other and the characters within the cards. And like
Okay.
if the card is looking to the right, it's forward facing, it's future talk, things like that.
Well,
I
seeing
would
that
recommend
people,
this deck if people are looking for the Rider Marseille
oh, they make
from
a right. Oh, they combined them.
yeah, it's combined. This just came out a couple months ago, I think, from Artisan Tarot. It's really nice deck. Um,
So that's interesting because I think I
so like
grabbed out my Mysticaya Moon. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, so
Finish
it's
what you were
Pippy.
saying.
You got the pips, but you still have the imagery of the RWS. So the Nine of
Okay.
Wands.
See, this deck that I have, they include. There's only a few faces. Most of them, the rest of them are animals, and I absolutely love. Um, like for me, the Justice card in this deck is just so beautiful. I love how they take that
Hmm.
idea of the balancing of the balancing of the heart and the soul, like they do in the Egyptian, and of course with the lovers, they'll have the two people. But where is I'm trying to find so that I can make sure I understand correctly. No, no, actually, no. The King of Pentacles. This one here is facing forward because on some of them they will have. Okay, they didn't do that for the King of Pentacles, but I see what you mean about. Whoops.
Yeah,
But they don't do that though for the King of Pentacles. They used a, like a cow or a bull. So there's
yeah.
no looking that way though. But so this would be
But I mean,
considered
I
a
would look
hip
at that as
deck.
being, if those were the 3 cards that came out, and like say the King of Pentacles was in the middle, and those two are on the side looking at the King of. I mean, that's an important distinction that they're looking at the King of Pentacles. So I would interpret it that way.
And with this deck here too, I love how she just used like for the swords. There's no people in it. She just did beautiful design plays with the
Yeah,
swords and um the Empress. Of course, she used a regular female. But what's cool with the Emperor is that instead of a human face, it's a male skull with the crown on it, and I thought that was
hmm.
clever. For me, Hermit, she used a lantern with mauves on it. So I just wish they used a different coating because these cards are a little thick. They're absolutely beautiful. They're a bit of a beast to shuffle with, And because I don't riffle, I have to shuffle like this. There's like a plastic coating that has been starting to catch on some of them.
Mm,
But I still love this deck. I really need. And the Hangman, how adorable! It's a bat
that's great. That's a good
wrapped
card.
up in his own wings. I mean, it's just really cool. So um, let me get that out of the way and catch up on. Hello, Amanda. Mama Sushi. So now we have another Amanda in here. Hello, my
Too many
dear.
men.
Lots of Amandas. Tom, I will look into the one you mentioned too, because Amanda was mentioning I ordered 20 different decks. Wow.
Oh my God.
Most are Oracle, but I did get a couple more Tarot and Lenormand. I'm waiting for them to arrive tomorrow. Oh, and I got a really cool where did I put I switched everything around when I did my show with Jonathan today. No, you can't come up here. What? You want to say hello to everybody? The mother, not the mother, but she's my mama. She is a mama. She had a couple babies. Come here. She wants to say hello. So this is Aunt Mozzie. This is my Ziva. This is my
Cool.
16-year-old. This is the one, Tom, that wakes Shan up at 12, at 3, at 5, because she has to eat. Write that in there. And she tends to drool in his face to get his attention.
Oh my God.
Oh, did Daddy just open up some food? Did you hear that? Why don't you go find out? So, all right. Whoa.
Hmm.
Okay.
That's
So,
important.
but Amanda, talking about Lenormands, I there's this guy. Oh, his name is Alex. He's on Etsy, and if you type in Lenormand, you get a lot of cards because he does a lot of different designing of Lenormands. And he called it Black Witch. I don't know why Black Witch. There's nothing evil, or the witches aren't portrayed here at all as evil. But I'm finding that the smaller sizes are good for me, and gives you a couple different options. But hey, look, it's Tom. Just kidding. Just get a little hat on you. There you go. So there's not they have the man card here. Everything else is represented by women, but the artwork, the
Wow.
colors. I was using this deck as an example on my show with Ramon and Rain the other day. And he's based in the Netherlands, and his prices are reasonable. It's just that you just anticipate the cost of shipping now is absolutely
Yes.
insane. So you got the dog, and of course the mice aren't supposed to be a very good card, but he makes it so hard when you see how cute they look. So, but yeah, look at the keys, the old keys. That is really cool.
That's
Stuff
nice.
like this, I really get into. Um, so the Lenormand for me, what I love about the Lenormand is that you don't have to necessarily worry about spreads. You can learn the Grand Tableau, which is like, oh my God, I don't know if I could ever learn it. But with
Yeah.
the Lenormand, which made it easier for me to get back into reading again, was that you just read them left to right. And it basically tells a story. And you can do them in pairs, you can do them in 4 or 5, it's how you can relate and read, the story. Whereas a lot with the tarot, there's so many, do the circle this way, this means that, this is blocking this is challenged here. Or for me it was just too much for my brain, to connect with and
Yeah.
figure out with. And for some people they cannot read, like Allison has shared that she cannot read, really doesn't read well. She needs to have that layout to know what the cards. For me, it's like just lay out, I have the question in mind, and let's see what I get. So we all process and read differently.
Oh yeah. No, we all do, and that's what makes it great, and that's what makes it interesting,
Hi,
at least
Courtney.
for me. To like see how other people read all the time, because I think it's really interesting. Like
Courtney,
I
I love
personally,
your last name, Elf.
Courtney Elf. I
That's
don't
cool.
like to read for others generally, so it's just I'm
So who then you
not
read for?
comfortable. I
Because
read for
some people
myself.
can't see, now. Some people can't read for themselves at all. I have a hard time reading for myself unless it's like a daily energy or something.
Yeah.
For me, it's easier for me to read for people. And again, there's that difference between how we can. Now, is it something that you think there's a block? How do I say this? Is it something that you don't feel internally comfortable with tapping into another person's energy, or do you feel like it
I
might be
mean,
your guide saying that for you spiritually, this is not how you're supposed this you're not supposed to read? Is there like a fear or an apprehension that you might not connect? Because for me, I can say there are times when I get scared when I pull cards sometimes for people because I'm like, well, what if I get it wrong? Most of the
yeah.
time they're like, it resonates good, but there are times where it's like, you know, does any of that affect you wanting to read for others or
So so it's not like I don't read for others. I do sometimes. I don't like doing it so much on like lives generally. Um, I will read on like, I'm on some discords and stuff, and every now and then I'll just be like, hey, you know, I'm gonna, I have my cards if anybody wants a reading or whatever, and I'll do
on
a reading here
Discord?
and there. Yeah.
I'll have to find you on Discord. I don't have Discord. I hear a lot about it. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
Amanda
No, I mean
says I
that.
have trouble reading for myself too. Yeah. Because
Yeah,
sometimes people get
it's
so close to, it's just
you
like,
have to you have
you know.
to understand how to disconnect or to separate yourself from it
Mhm,
and kind of know when you're lying to yourself.
mhm.
And you have to kind of, and that's not always easy. It's not, I'm not going to say that I'm not doing it at times, probably, but
That's why I need to practice more with my pendulum because I sometimes wonder if I'm influencing the pendulum.
yeah,
I try to
yeah,
get grounded. I try to say, okay, do I have my guides working with me through this pendulum? Is it being affected by any other entity? No. And so, but then it's like, I'll get something, and then later on, I'll find out that wasn't true. And I'm like, okay, was that me influencing, or did something change? At the
yeah,
time, that answer was correct, but now things have changed where it's no longer correct. And, again, like with the cards, Elsa and I were talking about one day, it's like there are so many interpretations that you can really kind of focus on with a card, and each situation is so different. How do you know technically sometimes whether or not you are reading the cards properly fit for that particular question or situation?
yeah.
Because tarot is so, what's the word? Objective, where it's
I
how
mean,
you
it's
read the cards, it's how you understand
yeah,
them and how you read them. So how I read, she goes, is very different than from what you read. We may get the same answer or we may not, but yet we might still come around. It's just, and that's why sometimes I wonder the accuracy of tarot and when
yeah,
we
no,
read.
and I think that comes down to the reader too, because I mean that's the thing. We all read somewhat differently, but we're all working within a common framework, of you know that whatever system we're working in, we're all working within that. So there is some guardrails there in place, I'd say, to keep us somewhat. But
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know. It's a weird thing because like, we've talked about this before, but then I think this might be part of my trepidation with reading for other people too, is that I don't I don't necessarily believe like in the whole guides thing or tapping into
Mm-hmm.
spirit and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily always look at it in a very woo kind of way. Um,
So what guides your cards then for you when you're
to me, it's
shuffling? Is
like
it you?
it's an internal, yeah. It's a I'm not, because I think there's I'm guiding what I'm picking, but I'm also guiding how I'm interpreting it. And that's based upon my experiences as well as like I said, the framework that you're working in. But also, I'm not ruling out like ideas like collective unconscious and things like that. I
Mm-hmm.
do tend to take a very Jungian bent
Yeah,
on
I
a
was
lot
just
of
gonna say
things.
Carl Jung said at least there is
Yeah,
some collective conscious.
yeah.
Yeah, that would
So,
influence.
you know, there, but I don't. I tend not to look at it in the same terms as a lot of people do, in the sense of like guides and stuff. I don't really necessarily buy into
So,
that
so
so
when you're
much.
shuffling, I hope you don't mind me asking, because I'm just curious, because I like
Mhm.
learning from other readers and how they approach readings. When you go to read, you set up a protective energetic boundary so that any,
Sometimes I'm very willy nilly about things. Sometimes.
so then if you go to do a reading, then how do you know that a energy or entity, whatever it might be, whether it has a consciousness or not, just it might be a type of energy that has an energy a frequency that, kind of discombobulates or whatever, let's say. So if you're shuffling, how do you know that that energy or entity and doesn't affect your reading in a negative way?
Because I don't think there's that in a general sense. I don't necessarily think I don't want to say I don't believe in, because that's not 100% true. But I don't know how much influence an external force actually can have without me allowing it to some extent.
Okay.
I would argue that there's protections that I have up in a general sense,
Okay.
but I don't always necessarily. Sometimes I do. Depends on what I'm doing. I'm not going to sit here and burn, sage or anything, and then, get ready and, exactly. I mean, there's a time and a place for it. Believe me, I love a good ritual, but
it's always good to have floor water too.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
all in the places. Whew, that reading, when you start spraying all over the But yeah, I was just curious, so that when you go to do a reading and you're shuffling, it's like, are you focusing on the energy that's within the cards to give you the answer? Are you going, okay, Tom, my higher self, what is the truest answer? Or is it, do you think, that's kind of what my curiosity, you may have already answered that.
I mean, it probably, honestly, the honest answer is it probably varies depending on my mood and what I'm thinking that day, because I do tend to flip around a little bit on my beliefs. But generally, no, I'm thinking about it in terms of myself. I'm thinking about it more about not necessarily that the cards are coming through something, but the way that it's filtering through my interpretation.
Okay. You're using
if
it's
that
like the
makes
archetypes
sense.
that are within.
Yes, yeah. Like I said, I'm very. I tend to have a very Jungian bent.
Us in the universe, we're tapping into those, and our brains are expressing what archetype. Yeah, this is interesting. To me, this is fascinating. How, I mean, it's paper. Yeah. Someone used to say it before, because with that whole debate about it being, the bootleg deck, someone has said before, it's just paper. It's paper, but it's not just paper, because the energy that goes into the images. So when we're shuffling that, is it our energetic field, our higher self? Is it like having a personal, because when we touch, that energy that are in these cards are going to connect with our inner energy. Yeah. And so the question that we're asking then for me has to be, well, where is this answer going to come from? And is it a trusted source? And how accurate can it be?
Yeah, see, I'm the source in my, so okay. I'm going to trust myself as much as I trust myself, But let me bring this up. The whole bootleg question. So, I get what you're saying about the energy, and I do agree to some extent on that. I'm not condoning at all for bootlegs. I think it's a terrible thing. People should not buy bootlegs. But do you think if somebody bought a bootleg deck, had no idea it was a bootleg deck, and they're reading it, and they don't have any idea that it's a bad deck, do you think that's affecting their reading, or no? Because I bet you it's not.
No.
It's you that is affecting it. It's your thoughts on the matter of if you bought a bootleg deck. I think. I mean, I know there's people that are going to disagree.
The bootleg is just that somebody's artwork that somebody else took and is
printed 100%
without that. And so for me, that will, to me, that could
Yeah.
taint. No,
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
not
no. If
it
I
wouldn't
knew,
taint.
it
I
would
mean,
bother
if
me.
I knowingly did it, if a person didn't know it, and because they're coming from a good place and saying, okay, I'm going to do, but
See, like that
knowingly,
goes back
because
to me.
that's connection with spirit. Because if you knowingly buy it and you know that yeah, the person isn't, but you know what, I like this, I wanted to read. Then spiritually, I think that could possibly corrupt, not
Yeah.
necessarily. To me, that's just kind of, I don't want to say karmically, but on a
Mhm.
spiritual level, you're putting a negative energy, that's something that's not, is not good
Yeah, and you're
into.
calling it spirit, but I would call it conscious. You know, like that's your
Yeah.
conscious. You know, and you're influencing it yourself, and because of that, your knowledge of that, whether it's whether you're aware of it or not, you're probably it's filtering into your interpretation and your reading. I would think,
Mhm.
uh, on some level. People are going to disagree with that, and because there's
Mhm.
people, a lot of people believe that it's an external force and everything, and I'm not even saying that that's necessarily wrong. I just to wait for it to work within my paradigm, it just I just don't go that route personally.
Okay.
But
Um,
talk to me in a week, maybe I'll change my mind.
Karen has said, I'm reading, I don't know who this is. I'm reading some of Anthony Lewis's tarot books now. Wow, I couldn't put it down. It's so good. So I'm not sure. I know you do a lot of reading. You had just recently gotten another book as well for your collection. Isadora says the energy connects through the artist's interpretation of the subject.
Yeah, I mean, although my argument would be the artist put the energy in there, but yeah,
The question may be, does it become tainted once it is bootlegged or reproduced, or is it tainted by our own perception? I
I
think
think it's the
it's
perception.
tainted by if we knowingly did that, and we're expecting, and we want to, and we're claiming to be spiritual, and we knowingly buy something that is basically stealing from another person's creation. To me, that could affect,
Yeah,
you know to me, it's not a good thing to do spiritually. I mean, will it affect the reading? I don't know, it might. I had one deck, and I didn't realize it was bootleg. I never connected, because I'm looking at the cards going, this doesn't really look like what I've seen. And then when I did a flip through, I realized on YouTube, I'm like, whoa, this is not what I got the images. But and then I realized what it was, and it's like, no wonder I didn't connect to it, why I didn't like it,
yeah.
because
I
it was
mean,
not. And for me, I was automatically figured out, oh, that's why, and I just threw them out.
let's just be honest. I mean, as a bootleg, generally, it's going to be lesser quality overall. The printing quality is on, and that does affect your enjoyment with the product, with the tool, and that's going to like factor in and all that. So, like, yes, I mean, like,
But
yes, so,
energetically too, I was just
yeah,
like, I love the image, like, oh, I want to use these. But when I'm using, I'm like, why is
yeah,
I'm just like, why am I not connecting to these like I thought? I mean, I would say, but they're so beautiful, look at. And then it was just, and then later on, I was able to, I kind of put two and two together for myself, and I realized that they were bootleg. I said, you know what, that's probably one of the reasons
hmm,
why. Because on a certain level, I knew, I don't know, I mean, we're all different again. um but being an artist, I would hate for someone
oh God, no,
who goes on Instagram or something and sees the work that I posted, and I turn around, someone say, hey, somebody on Timu is, Timu's selling a deck of cards, and Heather, that's your art.
hmm,
And I'm like, what? You know what I mean? How that would, because for me, my art, and I think I can say this for, on behalf of a lot of deck creators, that's personal. That's our spiritual. That's hours of working out ideas and
yeah,
colors and layouts. That's our soul going into those cards,
yeah,
into those images. And, to
yeah,
knowingly, go and do purchase that, knowing that you're taking hours and just yeah, to me it just ugh. But yeah,
Yeah. No,
it
I
could,
mean
and I
it's
think it could affect a reading. But again, if you didn't know it, you may, like for me, I know something wasn't quite right, didn't know what it was. But for some people, they might use it and not realize it at all, and may, give good readings. I would hope though, if they eventually found out that it
yeah.
wasn't, the actual artist's work, that they would turn around and because they enjoyed the cards so much in the readings that they would go and support the actual artist.
Yeah. Yeah,
They
no,
feel dirty and cheap.
they
Yeah.
do. I mean, I'm thankful I
Hi,
don't have any
Michelle.
boots at all. I've been very lucky that I haven't been burned in that way. But but on the flip side, to go with what you were saying, I mean, I have plenty of not plenty. I have a few decks that I have on hand that I paid a lot of money for some of these decks, and I just do not connect to them at all. You know, they're
Um,
absolutely gorgeous, and I can't use
yeah.
them, and
And
I don't know what
Amanda
that is.
says quantum mechanics says nothing exists unless it is observed.
Yeah, and observing it changes it. So
See, now for me, this is where I kind of have trouble understanding certain So this is why I like having conversations, because when people bring this up, I can actually say, okay, can someone explain this to me? Um, Quantum mechanics says nothing exists unless it's observed. So that lamp doesn't exist unless I'm looking at it. So
yeah,
if I'm not, but yet
I
I know
mean,
it's there if I don't look at it.
it's a philosophical thing. I mean, in the
Yeah.
sense of like prove that it exists without looking at it. You can't. Um, you can touch it, but that's still
Hey,
observing it
Stashman.
in some way. Hey, Gerald.
Everybody's coming in. Michelle Marie joined us too. And it
Oh,
was so interesting because we were talking about um what were we just talking about? Well, we were talking about pendulums.
yeah,
Because when Tom and I get together, we go, and with
it
Heather, the
goes
way
all over the
Heather's
place.
brain, I'm starting to think I might have some ADHD, because I get so excited and I want to go exploring all different pathways and ideas and thoughts. And then by the time I'm done with that one, I was like, wait a minute, what was the initial one I was just talking about? But Michelle, I think you were there, Tom. Michelle got this beautiful
Yeah, I was there
um,
for a little bit.
crystal. Now, for me, because of history with family dealing with and playing with Ouija boards that didn't go too well, I'm very cautious around spirit boards of any kind. But that, Michelle, was absolutely beautiful. The crystals that were on it, how you used your pendulum, the reading that Michelle gave me was just incredible. And her connecting with the opal, which is my
Mm.
spirit stone. And a lot of people don't know that. And when she picked up, that was just incredible. So, if anyone did get a chance, Michelle Marie on Astrological Tarot did an unboxing and was doing readings for people using this new beautiful crystal spirit board.
Yeah, I
So
came
I
in right when you were getting your reading. That's when I came in on it.
so I would definitely check that out because for me I have to be careful with things that I've seen in my past. I mean, like again, we all come from different a good example too, because of all the different types of spiritualities, established religions, or even if some people who practice magic doesn't think of it as a spirituality. So it could
Mhm.
be magic based, it could be spiritual alone, it could be an established religious point of view. um, I grew up in a house that had an entity in it, and you've seen this too in other paranormal shows where yeah, people mess around with boards and stuff and whatnot. But for this particular entity in my home, it was not afraid of the Catholic God. We had priests come in, Catholic priests bless the house, do this and that, and it never left. We had somebody who was from a different. His name was Moses. He wasn't Catholic. He wasn't a reverend or minister. My mom had brought him in. I can't quite remember what practice he was. And again, like there are other examples, or on TV where sometimes, depending on the energy or the entity, it takes different, um, uh, depending on. Oh my God, Heather, where the hell are you going with this? Um, to remove. Oh my God, Tom, where was I going with this? I had the perfect idea of where I was going with this. It's that,
I'm not sure.
but finally, it came to the point where it didn't care about the 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 priest blessings. It didn't care about this Moses guy doing his. He might have been a spiritualist, possibly. That might have been his area. Um, but because I had learned how to do spell work and I had done ritual, I had been in part of pagan circles, I was able to go back into that house as an adult and say, listen, I know how to protect myself.
Mhm.
And going in there, I was able to establish, I don't know if it left, but I remember being able to take control because I think this goes to all of our different experiences and in our in our relationship to our spiritual tools and the perceived dangers. I don't want to say dangers, but cautions
Yeah.
that goes into using them. I think I totally left, but yeah, that might have been a tangent. I know I was getting at something, but I had to finish my thought. And
Well,
Tom's like, "What the?"
no,
we
no, no,
went
no.
like,
I'm always intrigued by stories like this because I hear people that have these stories, and I'm always interested because I'm always intrigued in the idea of there's a lot of pop culture influenced fear around certain tools like spirit boards and things like that. But I've heard enough real world issues that people have had with them, and I've had my own experience with them as well. But I'm always intrigued if it's the tool or the people using it or what if there's something
the
else
intention.
influencing it. Yeah,
Hmm.
and like so in that house was it what were the ages of the kids that were using it? I'm assuming it was kids using
I
it.
do not. My mom's in spirit now, but she had said that a family member came to her and said that they had been playing with it. And this is the thing too: is a lot of people, they play with it and they don't know what they're doing, and they open portals, they call in stuff, and they get freaked out, especially if something bad does come through, and they run and they leave that damn portal open. So
Yeah.
my mom had mentioned to me that now this is where it gets a little iffy because a person that was associated with our family had gotten killed during a robbery attempt that my uncle was supposed to go to with them,
Mm.
and he didn't. And the person went ahead anyways, and he got killed during that attempted robbery. And that spirit definitely is what most of the women in my family came to believe was at least the main one in the house, because of when you played certain music. He was a big Doors fan, and there was a particular song, um, "Light My Fire," that was his favorite. And whenever, my sister would try to play her Doors music or that song, you would start hearing him dancing upstairs in our crawl space. And so my dad always never said, "No, I don't hear it." Da 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 da. He blocked it out. But a lot of women on my mom's side were like, "No, we're not coming back over." They could hear it. So I think another might have been brought to the house, but my mom had said that my dad had a fire pit out in the backyard, and she took that board and she threw it in the fire. And she said the minute she did that and it started to burn, this black mist came up out of it and into the house. So I don't know if there were two conjoining spirits in that house messing with me. And apparently, my sister, when her and I were talking again together, she has more of an ability to see. This thing came to me while I slept. This was more like it for me. It was, I don't say astral, but that's when it would wait, for
Mm.
it to attack. But for me, my sister said she physically saw this black mass shadow come out of the thing, the crawl space. You know how they push up the board and you move it over?
Yep.
Well, it came from right through that, came right at her. She said scared the living shit out of her. So I don't know if these two things ended up being at the house at the same time. One took over the other spirit that was still there. Um, Ginger and I read on it, but I think Ginger and I might have gotten two people, but um,
Interesting.
so for me, and then I had a friend who was messing with it too, and she came to my mom and was like, me and so were playing with this, Miss Johnson, and now I'm hearing, Saints telling me to come be with him, to take my life or stuff or whatever, and my mom had to help. I mean, it's just people get involved with these boards and not properly protecting or understanding
Yeah.
what it is that they're getting into. Whereas Tom, he's done enough study. He knows how to do ceremonial magic. He knows how to put his protections in place so that when, whether you use it or not, or any type of divination, you know that
Yeah.
certain barriers are put up. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of like with Crowley, because I heard he liked to play with. I mean, the house that Jimmy Page owned, I heard that
Yeah.
he opened a portal, scared even the shit out of him that came through it,
Yeah.
and took off and left the house. And Jimmy, the house kept burning, and finally sold it. And the last time we heard on the video, they were trying to rebuild it again, and
Yeah.
so it
Yeah. I think it
it
caught
is
fire like 2 or 3
serious.
times. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole
And I'm
the
not
problem with
picking. I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying these are
no,
things
no,
that
no.
I've learned of Crowley, and not just using him, singling him out, but just the understanding of you need to know what people need to understand when you create and
Yeah.
open something, that you need to
No,
close it or know what you're
and I
doing.
agree. And while I might not necessarily believe all that, I do think that it is a very good rule of
Believe
thumb
all
to
what?
have.
That he opened it.
About like the entities and yada yada, demonic forces, evil, blah blah blah, whatever. I mean,
Well, he wanted to be powerful, and he was trying to find any way. I mean, that
oh
was,
yeah, no,
he admitted
he
it.
was
He
trying.
wanted power,
Of
and he
course he
went
did,
looking
yeah.
for it wherever he
But
could. And I think he bit off. They said more than he realized he bit off more than he could chew in that one situation. And they said
it's a
he
good
left
story for him
without.
to have though about himself too. He was also a showman in that sense,
So
and
you think that was made up?
I don't. I'm not going to say it was made up. I no, he's definitely did rituals in that house. He definitely. But I think he was more than happy to allow people to inflate some of those stories a bit. But what I would say is, I think it is a good practice for people to still think of that in those terms and have that. It's having a healthy sense of fear about these things. I think is good. I'm not saying to listen to me at all,
No, this is
because
your
I get a
perspective
little,
because you have a
yeah.
different perspective, and we
I have a
respect.
slightly
I
different
like
perspective.
hearing
Yeah,
other person's perspectives. I have
I
my
do think.
experiences, which are very different from yours, but we can
Mhm,
share them and see where we can
exactly.
learn from it.
But I do think that like you're a big part of what happens in those kind of instances, and like a haunting type of instance and things like that, potentially is based around what you believe. So if you're
Hmm.
believing that that's happening, it's happening. But I think if you can believe that you are being protected, or that it's not real, or that it's not, if you can truly believe that, it won't happen either. It'll stop. Easier said than done, believe me, and I know that. And I feel like if you go into using like a Ouija board or something, and you were like, oh my god, I didn't close it, something came through. If you believe something came through, something's going to come through. Something is going to come through for
But
you
maybe
because
something
you're
did,
believing it. You're creating.
and
But
you
maybe
know
something
that, and
did.
you're going to
That's
fix
what I'm
it.
saying. It's better to be safe than sorry, I guess. But and
Some
if
people
if
may not
if
have
Gerald's
something that's
still here,
protective.
I'm just gonna do my tempting. Gerald, you need to buy this deck. This deck is for
Wait a
you,
minute. Wait a
Gerald.
minute. What is that? Here, let me put you on the big screen for a second. What deck is? What's that again?
This is the Austin Osmond Spare Tarot.
Okay. Now that's the one where the guy writes and there's like open spaces and stuff. Okay. That
Yeah.
is kind of interesting though. I can appreciate the
Yeah.
artistic concept. Because me, I'm a, we all have like we're foodies, and stuff and whatnot. We have our own particular, taste and, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of like the Marseille. Oh, let me put you on the big one again. I
There we
thought you
go.
were
Look at
done.
that.
Let's see what that is.
The Last Judgment. Sorry, we've gotten terrible glare today. I'm trying to.
Oh, I always get a glare on mine.
Yeah, it's a cool card.
So he handwrote all that on his own. That's all his
Yeah,
handwriting.
it was his own deck that he was doing. Yeah, so it's all his
Very
own.
cool.
All the drawings are on it. That these are his
Actually, that's
individual.
inspiring. Instead of having, if I were
Yeah.
like do a deck, instead of having, maybe some way I can write and then go in and have that overlaid on there so that it's not a artificial font. It's a font of my own handwriting that you put your energy because your handwriting, what you come through like
Oh
with
yeah.
automatic writing and stuff, that's
Hmm.
power. That's coming through your projective hand and you're putting that in there. So
Yep.
I can see how that deck probably has quite a bit of energy in it because of the handwriting and what was in the energy of that handwriting at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a very cool deck. Yeah. I bought it because I'm a huge fan of Austin Osman Spare.
A fan
And
of who?
Austin Osman Spare, who
Austin Sparrow. Okay.
yeah, it was his deck. He was a the early 1900s. So this was created just a few years before Pixie did the RWS. It's a few years before that. This was in 1906,
Oh,
I
that's how
believe.
old that is. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I wonder if
It
Ramon's
was
got that.
lost. Nobody knew it existed until it was found in a museum in 2013. So,
Ooh, Ramon, if you're still in chat, because Ramon loves collecting a lot of the different types of divination, the cards, especially ones that have like medieval. I mean, his collection is just some of the cards that he shared. I I'm wondering if he has that one himself.
yeah, this just
Especially with
came
it
out.
being museum. Wow,
Yeah, this
very
is
cool.
just they just did a Kickstarter that they're just delivering. They still haven't even finished delivering it to everybody yet, but yeah. Yeah, Jonathan Daly
Oh,
got it as well. So he had a great video on it too.
and Michelle said, I'm not big on Ouija boards, but I've had success with crystal grids,
Mm,
mandalas, etc. I have direct
yeah.
experience dealing with demons, and you need to practice caution. Kali Dev is my go to for the darker stuff. Oh, okay. Interesting. A little something about Michelle.
Michelle Marie's got a
Um,
dark side.
well, she's got, just looking at, and I'm not I'm not throwing, oh God, don't use that phrase. I'm not throwing Michelle on the bus. I'm just kind of putting you in the spotlight, Michelle. Michelle has, when I see her read, she has this otherworldly, her eyes, how she holds, how she talks, when she does her her mantras and how she speaks with the Vedic. It's
Mhm.
like it's a light language that comes through her. And when she wear and her crystal, her jewelry, it's all very like Michelle. There's just something extremely. I don't I don't say extraterrestrial, spiritual. There's something there's an aura for me when I look at, and I don't physically see auras, but there are times when I can like sense that there is an aura. And
Yeah.
every time she wears a color, she brings out that color. It's like every time I see her, I go, "Oh, that color looks," and I started noticing. But whatever she wears, she enhances. Whatever she touches, she enhances. She has this, to me, this aura, this energetic aura that you can see in her eyes, especially when she speaks her mantras. And
Yeah.
it's just it sounds like a light language to me when I hear her say it. It's just so fluent and it's so beautiful, and it's part, you can feel the energy behind it. So I'm not trying to embarrass you, Michelle, but this is just something that I don't experience this a lot with different people.
Yeah.
We have wonderful readers in our community, but there are some that just when you sit back and you talk to, or you take the time just to sit and listen and watch, you get to feel and understand certain energies coming from people. And that's one of
Yeah.
the things with Michelle. I need a mini Heather on my shoulder. And like I was saying, I'm not trying to embarrass you or anything. It's just there's some people that I feel extremely like, wow, who's the first person that you can think of when something comes up? Like there'd be like a Michelle. There's certain people like when it comes to like a certain type of goddess energy. I know Diana Bowles for shamanic and or JJ Tuta. And then Nancy. I can go to Nancy for certain things
Hmm.
too, especially with Crone, very with witchy wise woman. There's certain people, and with Tom, if I get confused or I'm uncertain about something, instead of automatically kind of getting, fearful, I'll say, okay, they're talking about this. This is something I think Tom is interested in or has studied. I'm going to reach out to Tom because he has this understanding. So there's certain people where, I know that I can go to for certain information like that.
But then I'll just push you down the wrong path anyway, and then
No,
yeah.
you're not. And Kara says, I do know Kali does not play around. No, she doesn't. My friend Amanda dedicated to work with her for, I think, 3 to 6 months at one time or a year. And boy, Kali kicked her ass.
Mm.
When you work with Kali, you be prepared to work with Kali, but she's extremely powerful. But she, like the Morgan, she's a taskmaster. She will put you through, what you need to, talk about tough love. That's why there's certain God. I've been wanting to work with the Morgan, but there's you have to really make sure that you're going to be dedicated and you're ready. And I'm right
Yeah.
now in my life, there's too much chaos going on, really, to be able to take on any work that I really know I need to focus on. That really needs to. But
Yeah. No, I agree.
yeah. One of the decks. Now, I know in the beginning we were talking about maybe sharing something. I'm very interested about that book that you had just gotten. If Tom is on Instagram, everybody, and Early Ritual, and he posts a lot of the different decks and books that he reads on. And this caught my eye because I believe I had a past life in Avalon as a
Yeah.
priestess, and when I saw that, it was just like, oh,
Yeah.
that's so what exactly does that book entail? Do they talk about Avalon or just the energy of
Yeah. So it's
Glastonbury,
called
the
Avalon
land?
Working. Whoops.
Okay.
I'll just hit my. Hopefully, I didn't mute myself. I accidentally hit my keyboard. We're good. Okay. Avalon Working by Mark Nemglam. This just came out from a Scarlet imprint. Literally just got this like 2 days ago. Um,
And it's
and
so
it's about.
simplistic. I love it.
I love it. The cover is just so
Hmm.
gorgeous. It is such a
And for
nice cover.
people,
And
that represents the Tor.
yeah, this is the
And the
tour.
symbol,
Yeah,
the Visa Pisces, is the sacred symbol that's on the goddess chalice well in
yeah.
Glastonbury. It's just beautiful.
So like, yeah.
And so it's the
So
history of Avalon or the area. Oh, yep, there's the tour. I really want to take
yeah,
a pilgrimage again there someday.
yeah. It's funny because like so this book came up, and I mean, yeah, like look at this
Oh man,
picture.
to be able to take that
Yeah,
walk around, you can either go straight up or you can do the full walk
yeah,
around. And some people have actually caught themselves in a time loop where the mist comes in and they can't see, people
yeah,
disappear, they just hear animals, and then next minute everything's all back to normal again. So there is a lot of power and energy focused on that area. So what does the book cover? Her studies, her experiences,
So
because
it's all about. So it's called. So the subtitle to it is A Landscape Grimoire. Um,
ooh,
so I'm only a few. I'm only like this much in so far. So
good night, Fatima.
so I'm going through, but yeah, I mean, it's right now they're kind of going through the history of just Glastonbury and just a
I
lot of
like
different
that
aspects of it.
because so many other authors are saying, well, this is how the women of Avalon, and I'm just like, there, and some of these are, and I don't knock their experiences, but I'm like, but those goddesses really weren't. But how do you know that? And for me,
Yeah.
I bought a couple books and it just doesn't resonate. And when you showed that, when I saw that on your Instagram, I was like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
there's something different about this book, because
I
it's like these
agree.
other
Yeah.
female readers saying that this is how they were, and it's like we don't really know how. We know the way, So I like when people take a more broader approach and just explain what they feel, what they experience, what could have been,
Yeah.
back at that time, and how women really. I mean, we all love, well, some of us love the that book that Miriam Zimmer Bradley put out, The Mists of Avalon, all Arthurian and King Arthur and stuff. But a
Yeah.
lot of that was really written from male writers coming through a patriarchal point of view. We really, and then on the other hand, though, some of the women take it all the way to the other far left, where it's all,
Yeah.
guys, and this is, and yes, it was the priestesshood was, I feel, very real, but not in like the Renaissance fair kind of, like, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah. No,
I
there's
just want to
definitely
go there and
an
tap
air
into
of
that
that.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in no way, shape, or form a knowledgeable about. That's what's so weird about this book for me, because so it is written by a man. Just I think you had said a
Oh, it
she, but
is.
it is a man. But he's looking at it in a very broad sense too, as well. It's not there's he right now, at least from what I'm reading of it, he's focused on different times within, and like covering all the different kind of people that were part of this place. So it's not just the goddesses that you're talking about, and there's a little bit more to it. I mean, he does get into the feminine aspect of it too, as well, that is there. Um, but it's an interesting book. It was weird because I really like this publishing house. I buy a lot of their books, and I was surprised when this book came up, because originally I was like, oh, I don't need it. It's Glastonbury. I don't care. But the more I thought about it, I was kind of like, I really kind of, something kept drawing me to it.
There you go. And you listen
And
to your intuition.
I'm like, I have to get it. So
You
I
listen
get it.
to your spirit guides. You're listening to your
Exactly. My guides told me.
like Heather.
So we'll see how it goes. I mean, like I said, I maybe 60 pages in or something like that at this point. It's not much. But
Very cool.
I am enjoying it, and I'm curious to see where it goes and where it progresses. It was funny because the author actually had commented on my post, and they were like, "Oh, I hope you like it and everything, or I hope you reconnect with Avalon or whatever." And I, to me, it's actually more. I'm looking at this more. It's helping me think about sacred sites in general,
Mm-hmm.
and the importance, because that's not something that I've ever really given much importance to. Um, on a macro scale. On a micro scale, yes. I mean, there's the importance of your space where you work and you do your practice. But I don't really think about it in a broad sense, since I'm not a person who tends to like groups or.
You're more solitary. You're eclectic, and
Yeah,
you like
yeah,
things. Yeah, you don't want to,
exactly.
like, a group think. You don't want to be
Yeah,
too brought into. It's nice when you find like-minded people, but that's
exactly.
why I couldn't do really, do the Wicca, because it's like, well, this is a set. This is what we do. This is
Yeah,
what we're supposed to say. And I'm just kind of like, oh, a lot of rules. I just, for me, I need to be able to feel and do what I feel like I'm supposed to. Not part of a. Some people need that structure. Some people
yeah,
prefer, you know,
yeah.
more
Not just
porous,
because I don't like
experiences.
it.
Yeah.
So it always turns me off. So I just like, it's not something I'm interested in. But this is making me kind of rethink the importance of those spaces, in the sense of the larger community and the world in general, and just like the humans in general, and just the way that
Mm-hmm.
people practice. So
And when people hear Glastonbury, the most they think of is the Glastonbury Music Festival, which is very
that's all
cool.
I ever really thought about it too. I mean,
And
I don't know much about the tour. I mean, honestly, like I've been somewhat intrigued by it, just but in the sense of like watching like Simon from the Hermit's Caves videos when he goes with Sandra. They go to Glastonbury every now and then. So like, and that's where I've kind of like oh, okay, I'm getting, it's kind of interesting, but like the stories themselves, I'm not super.
I have an old
I
friend
don't
who bought me a
care
rose
about.
quartz from there and took it into one of the crop circles. She has,
Mm,
when I was still talking to her, she was like, I can't quite remember which one it was. She goes, but I did take it into one. And I said, very cool. But what a lot of people don't realize is that when they see the tour and they're like, well, that's all ground there. Avalon's supposed to have water. Where's all the water? And what people don't realize is back in the day, that tour was surrounded by water.
yeah,
But
it was the
when the
island. Yeah,
Christian monks moved in, they wanted to have it, the water diverted out so that they could build the churches and stuff there. They wanted to have the grazing land. And so all that water was diverted out, but it used to be fully around. And, there's still some people who say that's not the location. They think maybe St. Michael's Mount. That's a
hmm
little bit further away, might be it. But when they do from what I heard a couple of years ago, they were doing like LiDAR scans. They're actually saying that they think they're seeing a structure within the mountain. And I'm like, I knew that back in 2007, 2008, when I started connecting and going, no, when I'm doing my meditations, I'm seeing there was some sort of temple, there was some sort of structure. And then all these years later, this was about 6, 7 years ago, maybe, that they were starting to talk about, discovering that there are some, you know, um, archaeological
yeah,
remains and stuff under there. And oh, there we go.
yeah. I just put
And
the link
Tom
up.
put that in there. And so yeah, I see pictures of that, and I still long to go there, and that's been since 2007. Good night, Nancy. Thank you for
Night,
popping
Nancy.
in, and happy birthday again, my dear. So Nancy will actually be joining Jeff and I Sunday night for our poetry. So that'll be very nice.
Cool.
One deck that I wanted to mention, and we can maybe do a collective if Tom's up to it before we
Yeah.
head out, is kind of one of those. Well, the Ginger Faye made me do it. But I had seen Allison using the deck, and then when I mentioned one time that Ginger's like, you don't have that deck, you have to get that deck. And I'm like, okay, Miss Tarot D, behave yourself. Oh, don't.
You missed it.
Actually, no, I take that back. Don't behave yourself, because that's what we love about you when you're naughty. And so I wasn't sure how I was going to really like. I mean, the artwork seemed interesting, and Shannon was like, "Let me get that for you." And so, if you and Allison and Ginger want to read, you have the deck, and you can maybe, work with it and start learning it. After I got this is just absolutely the artwork. So what deck are you talking about, Heather? It is the Hush Tarot by Jeremy Hush, and this here is the High Priestess. This is absolutely beautiful, and getting the deck, even though I kind of like, some of the cards are like a little creepy, but and I do like, some of the faces could use some eyeballs instead of that clear, but the artistry and these cards are just absolutely gorgeous. They don't, follow traditional RWS with the suits being presented in there. Some of them do, but a lot of this is just based on nature. I mean, look at this beautiful Queen of Swords, not swords. Now in here, no wands. Just this is all artwork done by Jeremy. He also wrote the book. And what's really cool about Jeremy that I learned, and look at this. This is the fool. Isn't he so cute? Oh my god. Um, and one of the cards too is like this ace. This ace of wands. The sparrow with the needle, and the needle in the eye, and it's kind of like that creepy, but at the same time, the
Yeah.
artwork is just absolutely stunning. A lot of his work is done also in ballpoint pen. Um, and then he goes in and he adds the color. I have to read up more on him. Um, just I didn't necessarily think I was really going to work a lot with this deck, but when I started doing a few readings for myself, I was just like blown away immediately by some of the messages. This Ace of Cups, it's like it's a bird and a skull. How is that an Ace of Cups?
Hmm.
But it's, the bird, is finding shelter, and it's happy and it's emotional and it's excited because it's a new day, and it shows that we're immortal. We're not immortal. We are all going to die. Everything gets reused, and I just love how he incorporates. Because I'm not big on human skulls. I'm more like animal bones. I love animal bones. Hence why I like Georgia Keefe so much, and I have. But some of this artwork, um, I mean, this Three of Cups, just
Hmm.
wow. You know, the World card. She's one of my favorite too. And in the cards that you would think would be like a typical RWS, like the Ten of Swords, someone's laying down with swords in their back and there's blood all over. And it's interesting. You thought he would do something similar because of some of the stunning, more um, the reactionary imagery that he uses. This one here, he does it delicately. It's growing
Hmm.
out your experiences, your pain, allowing things to grow from that, to learn, connecting and giving that to the earth. And you're on the ground and it's about time to start rising, like the weeds and the
Yep.
flowers. It's the end of a cycle, it's the beginning of a new one. And I love that there's kitty cats in these as well. Absolutely adorable. um, I don't know if you're
Yeah.
familiar with this deck, Tom, but this is a card that I think you might be able to appreciate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
This
some of
is a
the
deck that
artwork is
it's
bizarre.
very
I,
odd to me that I haven't picked this up yet, but I never do. I don't know why.
and I did not think I was going to like this, really, really like this because of the macabre bit to it. But the artwork really, he is a phenomenal artist. And
Yeah.
what's cool is that Mr. Jeremy Hush, he didn't mention here which bands, but he started his creative career in the underground world of punk and metal bands. He actually designed album covers and flyers, as well as booking bands and traveling around the world. He is now a designer, painter, and woodworker specializing in Gilded Age techniques. Jeremy currently lives in Philadelphia. So, Ramon, if you're still watching, he's a neighbor, hiding and working in the convent gallery where he is the curator and renovator. Ooh, so might be able to meet him someday. He spends his evenings painting in his studio. His work has been around the world, and I'm looking to see where Hush creates immensely detailed work using a ballpoint pen and found materials for pigment, often using his fingertips to create shading, giving his work an aged, textured, and timeless quality. That's just, yeah. It's and the word they use on here is lush. It really is. Being
Hmm.
an artist
Yeah.
and looking at and having worked in pen and ink and having to do those early years in college, I can really appreciate these cards. And I'm shocked that how you know, drawn to them I am. I mean, that high priestess is she's just beautiful. And she's just holding and cuddling that bird and listening to the wisdom of I mean, yeah, so
Yeah.
absolutely love this deck. So thank
I
you,
need to pick it up
Allison
one
and
day.
Ginger, for making me not making me buy it for Shan, for Shan buying it. So but we are at 9:19. Was there any hello, Kristen Louise? Hello,
Hey,
my
Chris
dear.
Louise.
Yeah, she popped in. The lady on the deck cover
Hmm.
reminds me of Vivian Lee. Oh, very cool. Um, so we are at um, 9:19. Did you want to do maybe like a collective read for everybody into the weekend?
Sure.
Let's get Tom to do a reading, everybody. This is a rare, and
It's a
I
rarity.
appreciate him being willing to do that because I know it's not necessarily one of your your
I do it every
comfort,
now and
part of
then.
your comfort zone. So
Yeah.
I feel honored that you're willing to do this. So what you want to come
One
up
day I'll
too?
come on and do readings with you.
What? You want to come up here for the final read? Okay, come on. Let's go. Come on. Oh my God, he weighs a freaking ton. So here's the other one. Here's Taboo.
Aw.
Oh, so and Kristen's like, do it.
I'm gonna read with the Tarot of the Holy Spectrum. That's what I'll read from.
Oop. No, careful now. Oh, no. Okay, hold on a second. I got two cats about to fight.
Oh boy.
No, hey, leave her alone.
All right, it's my show now.
Oh man, I tell you, when they get into it, it's awful. And they've only been living together since what? For the past 12 years? 10 or 12 years since we moved here. So I'm going to put you on the biggie for when you're ready. My guest always goes first.
Oh great.
He's like, oh, great. And everyone, don't you just love Tom's shirt? It's like, guess what? Guess what card I'm holding up? All of them. That really is a cool t-shirt.
Yeah, I'm happy with this one.
So I usually
What do you normally do? Like 2 cards? I can't remember. What do you normally do? Like 2 cards?
I do like 2 or 3. I mean, it's whatever. It's like I don't feel complete unless I do a 3, and then maybe look at a bottom. And I will be using the book, because he has special explanations sometimes for the makes me think of the Ghostbusters. What? Oh yes, the shirt. Oh, that was horrible. What he did to that poor guy. Oh my, he was getting every single one right. And see, that's like, yeah, but that new Ghostbusters was so much fun. I enjoy that one.
I
It was
haven't
nice
seen
to
any
see
of the
everybody
recent
back together again. Except, of course, for Harold Ramis, but alrighty. So, well, he's still shuffling, so I think I'm going to go.
Yeah, you can just go first. Yeah, sorry. This deck needs to be
No, don't be
shuffled.
sorry. So the first card I have is the Strength. And of course, again, this is not going to be your typical. And yes, there is going to be some nudity, so YouTube, get over yourself. And that's the artwork. Just, it's so hard. This camera doesn't do it justice. So here it says taming of the animal spirit. So of course we know the Strength card means having that strength. Keep moving forward, going into the weekend. And here it says, through confidence and determination, you can overcome the trials before you. Your inner strength helps you to understand and deal with the wants and needs of others. The swarm of bats. Oh, okay, those are bats, so kind of hard to see, but those are the bats. The bats and the turbulent flutter of moths, predator and prey, are being held tethered by an inner calm. The woman's face is painted for war. Oh, okay. It's kind of hard to see again, but there is white paint on her face. She stands upright, ready for whatever comes next. Learning from injuries of the past and stresses of the day is the way to keep moving forward and never back. And can I just add, what I love about what Jeremy does with his in his booklet and with his cards is he's bringing, even though this is very earth based, he's really bringing in the modern times. The tarot cards, the images, the messages that pertain to kind of like the way the world is now, not when it was first created. It's much different now in the 21st century than it was when it was first created. And I love that element of modernity. But yeah, there's just all these little moths all around by her hands and the bats, and she's just perfectly calm, still, keeping her eye straight forward, moving forward. The next card I have is the Sun, and this is one of my favorite cards. I love this cool eye. So There's the crow. There's this eye in the
Hmm,
sun.
that's a nice card.
Isn't that a cool card? I love that. And success, of course, success and growth. You have worked your way through dark times. The raven is looked upon as a dark presence. The sun rises and the light reveals the iridescent colors in its sleek feathers. Look to the light to keep striding forward as your path continues. So continuing moving into the weekend, staying strong, keeping your eye forward, keeping that inner calm. Because right now, what's going on in the world, especially in and around my area, you really need to have like a deep, grounded center core. Um, you'll be successful going into the weekend. And then I got this beautiful three of cups. These little guys having a little bit of a chat. Um, so the three of pentacles is, and that's what I thought they were, because usually I've seen them very much more vibrant, but these are cardinals, and I have one that's out in my window in the morning and during the day. I call him Freddie. I don't know. That's what he said he wanted. So I looked and go, oh, I should give you a name. And then Freddie jumped right in my head. So three cardinals. Some look like they're, almost kind of not too happy or having quite the conversation, but it says collaboration and learning. And sometimes collaboration and learning doesn't always mean that we're all going to be happy with what the other has to say. But there's still that presence where, they're still working together. Um, like the cardinal, you have a strong voice, your direction is clear, and you are secure enough in your beliefs to take advice and criticism from others. An outside view can lead to new ideas. So that fits perfectly with the other two. So going into the weekend, staying strong, standing in your core, standing in your beliefs, knowing that you will be successful, tapping into that crow energy of mystery, of the knowledge, the magic within yourself, allowing that to shine through, and making sure that as you're going through all this, staying open and being able to listen and to be able to communicate with one another, even with strong voices present, holding that core. So, my first online reading with these cards, they will get better. I promise in the future. But that was wonderful. I love these, and I'm going to give it over to Tom.
Okay. And honestly, I have a little bit more of the same from what you're talking about. So I pulled three cards. Like I said, I'm pulling from the Tarot of the Holy Spectrum, which is a somewhat new deck for me. So I'm not as super comfortable with it, but I feel like this. I think this reading kind of aligns the way where I was thinking. But so the first card I pulled was the Page of Cups. Um, I'm gonna show before I think instead of going one by one, I'm gonna show everything because I think I'll talk about it as a whole. It'll make more sense, I think. Uh, Second card I pulled was the Empress, so we're getting that three energy again that you just had
Mm-hmm.
pulled a couple threes, and the last card I pulled was the World. Now, to me, reading this as a whole, what I'm taking from this, and I think based around the conversations that we had this evening, I think the Page of Cups. This is telling you if you're, for everybody in the chat, if you are a artist, if you are somebody who has any interest in doing anything creative, this is telling me this is the weekend. Do it. Start doing something. Um, Create. Just create anything. It doesn't matter what it is, how small it is, or how big it is. Just create something. Um, I think this is telling you to start that energy. Um, the Empress, I feel, is tapping into the conversation we were having earlier about some of the femininity around like the Avalon stuff that we were talking with Glastonbury. That's so to me, it's just I think about with what you're creating. Think about the way that it's affecting the world around you. And maybe with a way leaning into the nature side of it. Um, I think there's a lot to be learned from it, and I think the Empress will help show that from whatever you're creating. And I feel like, I mean, how do you not end on the world? Like, how can that not be a great ending to a reading, to have the world? And I love this card in this deck because it's like kind of like the full circle of the fool's journey, kind of here. Um,
Well, that's cool. Instead of walking
yeah,
off or towards the edge, she's coming
yep,
back in. It's like the yeah, the path is
yep. And it's
complete.
just
That's
so
cool.
me, like, you're just going through. If you create what you want, what you need to create, what you need to get out there, release it. It'll help you, and it will put it forth out into the world, and you'll be a better person for it. So that's what I'm getting from these.
Very cool. Thanks, Tom. That was fun. And I noticed something a little earlier. Um, Random. I spy with my little eye production equipment. Are there any tracks floating out there? And you may have some from back in the day on YouTube or on iTunes or Spotify.
I don't think I ever put anything on Spotify. This is predates all that. Um, I think there's some on Google Play, and definitely some on Bandcamp. I think too. I have some stuff up, but I don't really talk about
Yeah,
it.
Tom brought up something for maybe poetry and tarot some
Yeah,
nights, so
yeah.
stay
So you might
tuned
see some
here.
of those
I want,
tools.
yeah, I was gonna be like, I need to get a hold. I talked to him after the show tonight when I started the music. Like, I gotta talk to
Yeah,
him. And Miss Tarot D says I have the erotic tarot and would love to do a flip through, but worry that YouTube will ban me. I don't
yeah.
know, Miss Tarot D, but Jeff likes to bring that one tarot deck that's got a lot of bondage and stuff. That
The
I mean,
Valentina
it's not
deck,
going through
or
the whole, he's not going through the whole deck, but so far I haven't had any complaints. So I don't know, maybe a few favorite cards. I don't know, but
and to go back to Michelle Marie's point about
yes,
my production, my musical stuff. Uh,
yes,
if tarot isn't the most, like, isn't a too expensive hobby, having a hobby of synthesizers is far more expensive, far worse
yeah.
on the bank account. Let me tell you. But yeah, I've gone down the Eurorack hole a little bit, and I have some old modular synthesizers and things that I play around with. But yeah, I definitely want to. I have an idea of how to incorporate that into
Yeah.
working. So I plan on doing something, and then also what we had talked about too previously, Heather. So
So yeah,
you'll
stay
start seeing
tuned.
some of that come in. Some of that's filtering in because I started playing around again. I haven't touched the synths in a while, but I've kind of got the bug again.
He's getting the inkling to touch the ivories or the knobs.
Exactly.
Tom wants to start playing with the knobs again.
Oh, oh boy, don't get Miss Tarity started.
Well, Lord, I need a sugar daddy back.
So do I.
And Miss Tarot D, there is an 18 plus you can check off on YouTube
That's
if you
true.
want to share. And Sloan Bella, when she was doing her readings before she lost her son, um, we were all during shutdown for fun. She was pulling out her erotica deck, and that was some interesting positions on some of those cards. Let me tell you. And I don't. She didn't get banned, so as long as 18 or whatever, um, I don't see why not.
Yeah,
So,
as long as you market that it's not for kids, you're fine. Generally,
and
you might get
speaking of
demonetized, but
electronic music. I don't think Ramon's still here, but when we were talking earlier at the start of the hour, his favorite Depeche Mode song, "Enjoy the Silence." Yes. Every time I'm
it's a
in the
good song.
car and I hear it come on, the radio or something, certain songs, especially when you watch the live. I will say though, before we go, is that I watched one of their concerts on their latest tour since they've lost Fletch,
Mm.
and for only one song they were showing a couple of young images that I knew I could recognize as Fletch, but there was like no like Fletch, so and so to so and so. It was just very minimal, and I don't know if that's because that's they think that's what he would have wanted, and they want to do it
Mm,
artistically to say goodbye to him that way. But I'm telling you, it was so weird to see Gore and Gahan up there and not have Fletch. You know,
yeah,
it was
it's
weird.
it is weird. I don't know.
So, what's your
I
favorite Depeche Mode song?
Mine's a weird one. Honestly, it's one that you most people would not think of, but for some reason I have such a connection to the song. It's but not tonight.
What?
But not tonight.
But not tonight.
It's on is it on Black Celebration? I think it's on Black
Oh, so it was
Celebration.
one of the earlier ones.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah,
but it's
mine's
like from like a
freezing.
movie soundtrack. It's not even like really like
We'll have to check
it's
it out.
yeah, it's not an important song in their repertoire, but I for me, I just love that song.
And I hate the fact that they never play People Are People. And Gore said it's because it wasn't deep enough, like some of the other music. And I'm like, really? Do, 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 do. You know, slipping. I'm just like, wait a minute. I just can't get enough is deep and not People Are People. We're talking about accepting people for who they are. I'm like, come on. What's the real reason you guys don't play that song? Because to me, that's one of my favorite songs of
That's a
theirs
good
is
song. It's a
People Are
great song.
People.
Yeah.
But
I
we
mean,
thought we were going to
they're
talk
all
more
good.
about, music. But, I just heard the latest, I think it was out about 10 years ago, the, 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 um, the newer Cure album. And I wasn't too crazy for it. I think I just really like some of their later 80s stuff, but
Yeah,
I've
I
just been
stopped
getting
after
into
Disintegration.
that
For me is
music.
really the
Yeah,
end.
it
But
was.
I mean, I like some songs on Wish, but
Hmm.
yeah, basically it's like what was that 1991, 1992? That's about my cutoff for them.
For Disintegration, I think that was around, yeah, because
It was 89, I think, for
I
Disintegration
was
that
in
came out.
I was a junior senior going out when they started coming out with Whenever I'm Alone with You. I mean, that's just such a beautiful song. Some
Yeah,
of the songs that they write, then you see some of the other ones, and I'm like the same person, but it's just you know it was the way of the '80s, and I'm just glad I'm getting kind of back into you know some of those songs again, and
yeah.
and let's see, Michelle said
Mm.
I got temporarily banned on TikTok after I did a full moon reading for Bharani. I'm not even going to try to attempt nakshatra. The nakshatra is represented by the yoni. Oh geez, yeah, and a lot of people what people don't realize about TikTok, and if you're interested I can find the link and I'll put it
Yeah.
in my community tab, is that TikTok's program on how it runs, its engine or whatever you want to call its program engine, was actually designed by the Chinese government
Mhm.
through a company to help keep an eye on their people to make sure that they were showing that they were happy. It was basically a real, you talk about Big Brother. This was a way of, keeping an eye on people, gauging people's positivity, what they were saying about the government, this and that. And it was a program to tap into people's, through apps or stuff or whatever, to keep an eye on what's going. And then that was sold to this company or whatever in America. So basically, another way of China keeping kind of a more on and on with the U.S. is through also with TikTok. So I'll have to find that video, but it explains it a lot better. But it was a program created by the Chinese government, through whatever business in China to kind of keep an eye on people and what they were saying, what they were doing, keeping up the front of, being proud, whatnot. I mean, it's just incredible. Talk about being, living under a watchdog, and that program was purchased and bought and brought over here, and I still think there's those ties still connected to it through China. So China keeps an eye on what's going on too here in America, and getting more. So yeah, people be surprised how deep and how far the internet goes and I mean there's just so many people. I'm just like, you know what, I'll say what I say, I'll do what I do, and I just can't, you know There's just too many ways of,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm much more comfortable just giving it to a capitalist regime like Google instead. So let them have all my data.
Well,
Sell it to the
and
best.
in Zuckerberg, there's some people that said that
Oh
was the
yeah.
worst thing that he could have done for sometime with humanity or for the newer generations was to create Facebook, because now it's just become yeah, we won't go there, but
Yeah. No, I
um,
mean, it's if he didn't do it, somebody else would have. So I mean, it is
yeah.
what it is.
I mean, I was happy with MySpace. Shit, I could put whatever I want. I could have music playing. I could have, back then I had Charmed on there, and I had some of my favorite music, and I had my artwork, and I could type. I mean, I thought MySpace was cool. I wish it would make a comeback. I really do.
Uh,
That was a lot of fun. No, not a fan of
uh,
MySpace.
I
No.
mean, it was fine. It was fine. It was, yeah, I know. It's just, I'm thinking about all the bad design choices that people made on their pages and all the blinking text and the
Oh, so that,
animated
yeah.
banners that were spinning and glittery and, oh no, no.
Yeah, and you can't do that kind of fun stuff on Facebook. When Facebook started taking off, I'm like, I don't understand how this works. Why do people like this? You can't put I can't put, my witchy stuff on here. I can't put my wait a minute, what's the it was really bizarre how,
Yeah.
but it is what it is. MySpace let you throw sheep at each other. Oh my god. And yes,
Yeah.
if you're talking about dog food, we will have that has happened.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon and I talking, and then all of a sudden, next thing we know, we're turning on our YouTube TV or something, or on here, and I'm like, wow, or on Facebook, I'm like, wow, look what's all of a sudden up on here, you know. So there's just no way of escaping it, and it's just, it is what it is,
It is what it is
and
at this point. We're,
and I
we're,
stay
we're
off
screwed.
Facebook as much as possible, So I
Yeah.
post my
Yeah.
art there. I go post my art on Instagram. I'll say hi maybe to a few people. They put on Facebook. I go check notifications every now and then. I can't scroll through. That's the thing is they make you scroll and scroll. That's what they keep you in there. And nah. I got other
Yeah.
stuff I need to do during the day. That sit there and scroll. I mean, I used to do that a lot, but now it's just like,
Yeah.
nope, it's just too much. Yeah, like Meta and other apps are being exploited by the Chinese to take over our economy. Exactly. Timu, yes, and Siphon too. Oh wow, from Amazon last quarter. You know what? I just don't like Timu. I know that we have a couple of readers who love to buy stuff on Timu, and they're always showing the pretty stuff, but no, they sell bootleg decks, and I just I mean, so does Amazon. You have to kind of be careful, but not
Yeah.
really badly, like um damn AI, there's good things for AI and there's bad things for AI. There's some really scary stuff coming down the road, I think, with it, but at the same time, I have a deck that's AI and I played with some of it on Canva and I've gotten some beautiful images. So,
Oh, it's insane how good it's gotten already. And it makes my life a lot easier at times too when I'm doing stuff for work and everything, where I can just in Photoshop just say remove the background and it removes it. I don't have to sit there and cut things out anymore. It's amazing. But
let's see here. Yeah, I read an
uh,
article in Wired magazine last
yeah,
month regarding TikTok. It was created by an entrepreneur in Singapore who was educated in the UK and US and held a position at Marcus Goldman Sachs. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So that tells you all you really need to know. And I know a lot of that was implemented by the Chinese government to keep an eye on their people. And now, so no, I avoid TikTok, Snap, all that social media. I don't need all of it.
I just can't stand it. I just don't
I
like
really
TikTok.
don't. Instagram and Rain and Jackie's Crystal Moon kind of had to twist my arm to get me to download WhatsApp. So they said it's easier for us to talk to you on that app. I'm like, another app. So I try to avoid as much of that as possible. Just PSA: don't buy sex toys or children's toys from T. Oh, and
Yeah.
they don't have base. Wow. Well, you learned something new today. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just avoid Timo. Honestly.
It's like anywhere I go though, I can't get away from the damn place. I don't
Yeah.
go there at all, and yet there's all the Pinterest. I'm like, oh, come on, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Let me enjoy my boards. But
And yeah, Michelle Marie. I mean, there's so much.
Dolly, I haven't heard that.
Yeah,
Okay,
Dolly is it's like a Mid-Journey light type of thing. Well, it's not even light anymore. I mean, there's
what's a midway
oh,
like?
so it's a generative AI tool. So
Oh,
basically,
okay.
it's one of the things that creates the AI pictures. Um, there was a few free versions of Dolly that were out there that were fun to use. They were like terrible. They were not good. Like where Midjourney would give you really good pictures, good quality pictures back then, Dolly wouldn't give you that great. But now Dolly's gotten so really amazing work. And like the tool within Photoshop is amazing. And I do trust the one in Adobe a little bit more because they're at least using the learning is based on their own stock photos. So there's already rights that are managed and everything. I mean, AI is a problem. AI is going to change a lot of people's jobs. It's going to make a lot of people's jobs not important anymore. But
yeah, the Y Files just
cool.
released a video last
Yeah.
weekend talking about something called oh, I can't think of the name of the thing now, but it's a program I think that's already started with AI, and it's kind of like a science fiction, but not quite science fiction, showing that we're going to get to the point where people are going, because already now people are starting to play genetically with what they can do, what kind of children that they have. They're
Oh yeah.
manipulating DNA so that they can't get AIDS or this or that, and that's why I'm like, oh really? And yet you tell us that there's no cure for cancer. You people are so full of shit in our health community, in the health community. But and now people are fighting with them that they can genetically alter their children. So like, what parent wouldn't want a healthy, happy, healthy baby who can't get AIDS or certain measles or pox and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, they're showing further down though, the more this goes on, it's going to become to the point where unless if you're not modified in some way, then you're going to be seen lesser, and they're going to have it so that people see you as a weak link that needs to be eradicated because you're not following the rules. You're not being modified to keep up and keep the population of humans healthy. And then they start separating. I mean, it sounds crazy, but when you watch the way it was being presented, it made a lot of sense. Super soldiers, they're trying to find super soldiers right now, and they're using the AI and the genetics and going in to live adults now and trying to manipulate DNA to create stronger, more, whatever, kind of like a Captain America. They said basically think Captain America going in and manipulating genes and stuff and whatnot, trying to make a better super soldier. Countries
Yeah.
are doing it. China is, Russia is. They said, the CIA asked for, I can't remember how many billions of dollars for a project that they want to do on it. France says, well, we don't really want to, but because everybody else is doing it, we need to protect ourselves. So there are a lot of major country, world governments that are now looking to upgrade their soldiers, their men and women, to this type of super soldier. It's scary. And I told
Yeah.
Shan, but we can't live our life in fear, though.
No,
That's
you
the one
can't.
thing, though. Just kind of have to go along with, hey,
Exactly.
aloha, Jonathan. Yeah, just a little, but it's all good. I had a great time with Jonathan today. Oh, you should have seen the Celtic knotwork painting that Jonathan
Mm,
did. That was
that was
fabulous.
nice.
That was really, really cool. I used Leonardo and Midjourney too, Tom. And yes, Dolly has
Yeah.
grown
I mean, they all
exponentially.
have. It's kind of insane. Like
Yep.
how quickly AI has grown in such a short amount of time has been insane.
And what Miss Taro G says right here, they were addressing it in that episode of the Y Files too. There's going to be a point where AI is going to be able to decide, straight down, yep, guilty, not guilty, but you're losing the human factor in
Exactly. Yeah.
understanding what, so yeah, this was something they were talking about too. How are your coconuts hanging? Oh, and there's plenty to go around with. Well, Jonathan and I were talking about that we enjoy our live paintings when we have a threesome. And I said, "Oh, I go, Jonathan. So you like threesomes, huh?" And he's like, "Oh my God, I'm blushing, Heather. Stop."
But now he's blushing again because you're bringing it up.
Yeah, it's funny, but we had Jonathan and I want to still continue. We enjoy these so much, sharing our art with everybody, and we always invite anybody to join us. We love having, other people, you know, share their work. I think that scares me is that some countries have already released AI into the yeah, and yeah, it's all over. The good thing is people who couldn't walk or have no sight or have severe brain injuries. They're saying they're looking at people with ALS, MS, where they're actually able to start looking at working on developing ways for them to go in and help correct that so that they can get use again of limbs or functions and things. And so it's unfortunately everything has a good and a
Yeah,
bad. It really,
yeah, exactly. That's I
it's
don't
just the
know.
way it's how life
I'm
has
not saying
always
I'm
been.
yeah, I'm not a huge fan of AI, like especially in terms of like you know tarot and
Oh,
the
really?
way it's
Because I see
the
some incredible Etsy decks
oh
and I'm like, I couldn't do that in AI, but I get it. Like that, those cards that we're using today for
yeah
our painting session, um, that's AI, but the colors and the way that they were produced was just absolutely exquisite
yeah no, there's
and
beautiful
just,
like it's just I don't know. I mean I don't.
but they don't do really good. At certain ones, you can see the hands. They can't
Oh yeah, yeah.
understand how to do fingers. So there's some where you look on Etsy, you're like, oh
Don't worry.
no.
Give it like 3 months, 6 months. That'll be fixed. So it's already
Because
so much
there's
better
some
than
art that I can't create because that's not my skill
yeah.
or my expertise and technique. So I've seen a lot of. But the thing is now on Etsy, these people are charging like 65, 70 some dollars. I saw a deck for like $90 the other day, and I said, for what? Oh my goodness.
I mean
So yeah, look,
I
Allison says
always
pretty
overpay.
little pieces of paper. She goes, I don't pay more than $20 for a deck of cards.
Hmm.
Jonathan, once AI is advanced enough, we'll see the beginning of
Yep.
nanotechnology for everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's going to help the environment, that sounds like a Saturday at home for me. Oh, wait a minute. What did I miss here? Miss Taro D, you would have had a blast during. Oh, the peacocks were, yeah, they were mating. Yeah. Oh, they were loud. That's what I was saying today. I was like, it's so weird, Jonathan. I don't hear the peacocks. I'm so used to hearing the peacocks. So, and I was saying, we were ending at 9:30, and here we are going on 10 o'clock. Oh, I could just go
Yeah.
on and on. I love hanging out with you, Tom, and everybody in chat. The conversations, but especially with music, they'll have to be for another day. But
Exactly.
it just goes where it goes. And the bank, yes, the banking systems, that I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they want to make us where the only way we can get money is if we got chips in us or something, and government don't like what you're doing, or they don't think you're happy enough, or you're patriotic enough or whatever, they can cut your connection to your money, boom, just like that, that kind of stuff. But again, I keep telling Shan, we get angry, but you got to let it go. We can't live in fear day to day. you know if that future is coming, we can't stop it, but all we can do in the moment is enjoy what we have now.
Yeah.
Alrighty, Miss Taro D, we're heading out to
Yeah.
go rest, my dear. She had some treatments today, so steroids will kick in soon. So, alrighty. Thank you, everybody, for joining Tom and I tonight. Allison will be back with me next Friday. And of course, Tom, you're always welcome to join Allison and I whenever you get the itch, whenever you're free.
Of course.
Same thing with Saturday nights. For a while, we were doing with Jeff. And I know Jeff misses hanging out on Saturday nights. So if you have a Saturday night free, let me know. And I'll hit up Jeff and
Yeah, no,
we'll do
definitely.
a Saturday night chill. And everybody have a great start to your weekend. Stay strong like the cards. Stand in your power. You got this. And connect with Mother Earth. Get grounded. Get creative,
Yep.
like Tom said. And we'll get through this. We'll make it.
Yep.
And we'll talk to y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.